Welcome to the Parks, Arts, and Education, Parks, Arts, Education, and Equality Subcommittee. Today is June 27, 2018. We are having some technical difficulties, and so we will work our way through this. I am calling the meeting to order. There are called to the public cards, and it's Janet Kaler, and then Philip Carpenter, and then Jerri Vanna. So, Janet, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name's Janet Kaler. I'm a Phoenix City resident, and I really utilize the, can everybody hear okay? I really utilize the senior and community centers a lot, almost 5 days a week. At the one at Buff, there's a very large sidewalk and area for smoking. I have to walk the whole area out in the street because the whole area that's the sidewalk is so full of smoke. I have problems with my eyes. They're very dry. They get infected. I have to go to the doctor, pay money, and suffer a lot of pain. I also have lung problems. I wish you could make it a smoke-free campus. Also over at Deer Valley, the building is such that there's only 2 small areas that the air can come through. They have the smoking area right in the center of these buildings. The children come for classes, and they play in that area. They are waiting and breathing that smoke and seeing the example of these people smoking as a norm, which should not be. Also, in the cafeteria, this one person especially smells so drenched in cigarette pollution that half of the room, which is a large room, is polluted with her smoke, and there I am exercising, trying to breathe clean air for a healthier life, and I have to breathe that pollution that's just filling half the cafeteria. It's unbelievable. Please, make them smoke-free campuses. They're health campuses. Smoking shouldn't be there. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is Philip Carpenter.
Good morning. My name is Philip Carpenter. I'm here to support Janet. I'm the Executive Director of Arizona's Concerned About Smoking, and I'm also the chair of the Arizona Smoke-Free Living Coalition. We have signage that could certainly be used. We also have technical resources that the coalition has put together for implementing tobacco-free parks, smoke-free parks. Were you aware of what Prescott did in April? They voted 6-1 to make all of their city parks smoke-free. It includes e-cigarettes, and in their justification and reasoning for this policy, not to mention the fire danger, they talked about how smoke-free Arizona is a floor standard. Municipalities, business owners, city governments are encouraged and motivated to go above that 20-foot guideline near business entrances if you so choose. This is the way to go. This is the future. More and more communities are going with these entire smoke-free and tobacco-free parks. So I would highly encourage you to consider what Prescott did. Their city attorney, John Palladini, did an excellent job in documenting the justification and the reasoning for this. We're also hoping that we can do a breathe easy zone in Prescott, right in the center city courthouse area. But Janet's absolutely right. People that attend these community and senior centers should not be subjected to any kind of tobacco use, especially smoking, especially for the youth and for those residents that attend those centers. So we're here to help and provide, so please keep us in mind if we can help with signage. We're willing to go out and talk and help provide some education, and we also have technical resources, and thank you very much.
Thank you. That was the timer, since the timer's not working. Regarding the smoke-free, Inger,
It's public comment.
I know, but I'm just saying, Inger Erickson can speak with you regarding the smoke-free areas. I would suggest that you would also speak with her on the public, the Recs board. So, thank you. Minutes. Oh, I do. Oh, Jerry, I forgot about you, Jerry. How could I do that?
I would have come up anyhow.
That is true.
Hi, Jerri Vanna. I know this is the last meeting until September of the subcommittee. And I haven't heard anything mentioned in the last few months about amenities, a new trailhead for the Camelback Cholla Trail. And it's in the process right now. Penny has handouts there for everyone. The design and planning phase is now underway. It'll be completed by the end of the summer. So I was hoping to put that on the agenda in September, late September, for discussion. What happened in 2014, we did the same thing, new trailhead with amenities at Echo Canyon. And it's been a huge success. Everybody's been wondering, though, why haven't we done anything over on the other side of the mountain at Cholla Trailhead? What happened when we were doing Echo Canyon, all the hikers, because it was closed for a year, all the hikers were directed over to the Cholla Trailhead, thinking that once Echo Canyon was done, that most of them would come back over to Echo. There are now more people going up the Cholla Trail than the Echo Canyon Trail, which, I like to think we've got the best park system in the country. We need to get amenities over there on the Cholla Trail so we can live up to that definition. So hopefully we can get that on the agenda, and I'll be making the same push with the Parks Board tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. As you know, there is an interim mayor, and so in September, I believe all committees will be shifted, and there will be new leaders at the different committees and different names of the committees. So I suggest that when that announcement comes out, we come back at the end of August. So I'm assuming it'll be announced the end of August, that we could put that on the agenda maybe for October. Hopefully the chair of that committee, once we figure out who's going to be the chair, then to see if they can get it on the September. So changes. Okay, minutes of the previous meetings. That is May 16, 2018. May I have approval?
Move to approve.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Items 2 through 7 are on consent. Is there anything on here that you would like to speak about? If not, can I have a motion?
I move to approve. Items 2 through 7.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Items 8 and 9 are information only. Is there any items on here? Actually, I would like item 9 about the summer programs that are happening. I believe Councilman Nowakowski had asked for that.
Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, I believe the report was dealing both with libraries and recreation programs. And it basically was outlining the programs at the swimming pools that we have, Open Swim, Cool Kids, the Cigna safety programs, itty bitty beach parties, a variety of things at the swimming pools. The 4th of July event that's going to be held at Steel Indian School Park on the 4th of July. Come out from 6 to 9 p.m., lots of fun activities, things of that nature. All the summer recreation programs that we also have at the various community centers. We have programs that are available from 7:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night for people to have their kids in a safe environment, doing recreation programs, things of that nature. as well as golf programs, hiking safety, all the variety of things that we have in our community centers and facilities throughout the summer. So it basically was just giving a report about those things that we have, the levels of activity that we have. There's 1,200 participants in our summer recreation program. We see over 80,000 participants in our summer swim programs. So we have a lot of volume throughout the summertime. And I'll turn it over to Rita for the library portion.
So in the summer, the library does the summer reading program, and that's our main thrust in the summer because we're trying to work on the summer slides. So keep children reading over the summer so that they don't lose their skills when they get back to school. And we work with the Friends who fund a number of very special programs. There's a whole series of programs at each library, and they cover all sorts of fun things from performers and the snake guy, the reptiles come in, and so they expose children to a lot of different activities. So all of those programs are going on right now. Good question?
Okay, go ahead.
So one of the reasons that I wanted to bring this right before the summertime is to inform parents about all the resources and all the programs we have throughout our libraries and our rec centers and throughout our parks. One of the things that I've heard is the success of the mobile rec units that are out there. But then people are telling me that during the summertime we're stopping the program, or there's a break, a summer break, and the concern I have is that's when we really need them more than less. And people are asking if there's a way to have the mobile rec units year-round instead of having a summer break.
So, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, the budget that was put through last year was for the school year. In the summertime, because of the intense heat, that wasn't originally put in. We could certainly work up figures and get it to you if that was something you wanted for the future, and put it forward as a proposal for a future budget.
You know what I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is look at those areas where there's not a community center, or there's a lack of community centers, to really, I mean, this is the only place where kids are able to go out and enjoy and be in a safe environment within our parks with supervision. So maybe that's something we can look into, which areas don't have those centers where they can actually go and play basketball, football, and all those great things. And the other thing is, is there summer hours for our parks staff? I know that a lot of times people tend to go to the parks after the sun goes down, especially in the summertime. Are there going to be more supervision? Are we keeping the same hours?
Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, the activities that generally go on in the parks, we have rovers that hit a variety of the parks throughout the summer. They are still, again, out there. Many of our staff are in the community centers running the summer programs. Right. And so we typically have the rovers out there managing the sports fields, things like that, and they also check on the rest of the parks as well. So it pretty much is the same schedule, the same staff out there checking on the summer programs as well.
I guess when the mobile unit was being built, my impression was that there was a year-round mobile unit. So I want to go back to see what I crafted and wrote, because I believe it's a year-round. This is the first I've heard that it wasn't available for the summer. So
we do bring it out for special events, but it is not scheduled during the summertime, primarily because of the intense heat. If it was something that we were to do in the future, our recommendation would probably be from 6 to 10, something like that.
Oh, no, yeah. I would, yeah. No, that would be, I would say 7.
And currently the school year program runs from 3 to 7, so that's the
I would flip
there.
it, yes. I would flip the hours. That would be wise. My next question, and I don't know if this is for you or for the technical staff. As we run this committee meeting, can we have a, I guess it would be flyer, they would know how to do it, placing all the activities or showing where they can get information of all our activities for the summer. Sometimes getting on the website is very daunting, and lead you into spaces that you don't even know how you got there and doesn't get you to the information that you need. So this is more of a technical piece that run these programs, if we can put something up so that then people can go to that link and lead them to the summer programs.
We certainly can do that.
Yeah. I highly recommend the reading program. The kids get rewards and get stickers throughout the whole process. And the itty bitties and the readings and keeps you cool in the library. And at least you're in the library in a cool area and listening to great stories. So I highly recommend that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We are on item 10, the 2018-2019 Community Arts Support Grant Allocation.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. We're here to present the recommendations for the 2018-2019 Community Arts Grants Program. Since 1987, this program has provided organizations support to expand the availability of arts and culture throughout our city. And before we begin our presentation today, I'd like to invite our Arts and Culture Commission Chair, Taniqua Broughton, who's here with us today, just to say a few words about the program.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. On behalf of the Arts and Culture Commission, we want to thank you for the support that you have provided for us over the last year. And as we present the community arts grants today, thank you for the opportunity to reallocate dollars across all districts. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Taniqua. So prior to the March 23rd deadline, here we are, we held community orientations for those interested in applying for grants. Meetings were held in various locations throughout the city in an effort to serve organizations where they live and work and to attract new applicants who might not be aware of the program. This program consists of 6 categories offering operating and project-specific support. Access 1 and 2 are general operating grants for large and mid-sized organizations. Action is the capacity building category. This is for small and emerging organizations. The Collaborative Communities project grants are for festivals and arts learning activities in collaboration with community partners. And the Youth Engagement Grant is a new category funded last year for youth-led arts groups, clubs, councils. And then finally, the Rental Support Program is for supported performances in city-owned venues in collaboration with the Phoenix Convention Center. So this slide shows the entire history of the grants program. We're very grateful for the increase approved by Council on May 22nd, which takes us back to the funding level prior to the Great Recession. And a note that we're prepared to reduce the budget by $30,000 if needed. This year's grants program offers 72 grants to 60 organizations. The last economic impact study for the Phoenix not-for-profit arts sector shows that for every $1 that we allocate here for this grants program, the city receives $26 in tax revenue generated by the spending of the organizations and their audiences. This is a slide of one of our grant review panels that met during the month of April. Panelists are community members who help review the applications submitted in the Access, Action, and Collaborative Communities categories. The Youth Arts Council reviews the grants submitted in the Youth Engagement category. And these are the panelists. These are volunteers who are business leaders, artists, nonprofit sector workers, educators. They all spent about 2 weeks reading narratives, reviewing videos, budgets, strategic plans, and diversity statements and other application components. Each panel then met in person to rank the applications using criteria specific to each category. In all, volunteers committed between 15 and 20 hours each to this process. Panels are also chaired by an arts and culture commissioner like Taniqua. I'm going to ask Dwight Wald, who is our grants director, to talk about our funding priorities.
Thank you. Good morning. All of our grant categories emphasize core fundamental values. diversity, excellence, community, education, and services to youth and those with special needs. In diversity, we ask applicants to tell us about their programming, marketing, education, and outreach efforts that celebrate, reflect, and are inclusive of the diversity of the city. We also ask about the diversity of leadership, staff, and board to encourage organizations to make a place at the decision-making table for all voices. Excellence. Many of our anchor arts institutions are at peak excellence in their history, including the multi-Grammy Award-winning Phoenix Chorale, Ballet Arizona, which is nationally recognized for their artistic excellence, and Arizona Opera, which has developed Arizona Red, a new national programming model designed to feature contemporary operas and attract new audiences. Youth. We have many organizations whose mission is to serve and develop youth interested in the arts. Examples here are from Phoenix Conservatory of Music, which recently won a National Arts and Humanities Award for music education, Musica Nova Orchestra, Kids in Focus, and School of Hip Hop Phoenix. In fiscal year 2017, the last reported year for our grants, applicants to our program reported that they served 918,983 youth through in-house programs and outreach programs. Special needs communities. We ask applicants to tell us about their programs that serve special need communities. Examples here are from Playback Theater Arizona, which works specifically in special need and solely in special needs communities. Phoenix Symphony's Wellness and Alzheimer's Initiative, and Ballet Arizona's Adaptive Dance for Down Syndrome program. We also have several arts organizations that have developed programs that serve veterans, including a Vet Ticks program. And one of the projects that's recommended for funding is a program by the Arizona Artists Guild, which introduces veterans to working with ceramics. Community. We ask our applicants to tell us about the community that they serve and also what strategies they have to target the communities that they are not serving. Our grants support the organization's work to engage and challenge new communities and to broaden, deepen, and diversify the community that they serve. Education. We ask our applicants about their role as education providers, and many of them are filling the gap that exists now in schools. Many of them are the A that turns STEM projects to STEAM projects. Our organizations target Title I schools. They offer workshops, classes, and summer camps, both as in-house programs or programs at schools and after-school programs. And so these next few slides just show how our allocations have been made. ACCESS is an acronym for Arts and Culture Community Engagement Services Support. Our Level 1 supports the major anchor arts institutions with budgets of $2.5 million and higher. ACCESS 2 is our fastest growing category. It serves mid-size arts and cultural organizations with operating budgets of at least $250,000. The Action category, that's an acronym for Arts and Culture Targeted Initiatives and Organizational Need, our capacity building category, as Gail said. Organizations in this category can have budgets, operating budgets as small as $25,000. So this grant is a significant investment as a percentage of the operating budget, and it helps the organization build capacity and their delivery of services to the public. Our Collaborative Communities category, that's a mix of arts and culture festivals and arts learning projects in partnership with community members. Our Youth Arts Engagement category, as Gail said, we had $20,000 allocated by council last year. This recommendation is for $8,300. We are going to have a fall round that will allocate the remaining $11,700. And then the rental support program. It's provided in partnership with the Phoenix Convention Center, and it supports the primary users of Phoenix Symphony Hall, Orpheum Theater, and the Herberger Theater, which are all city-owned venues.
So we're asking for your approval, this allocation approved by our commission of $915,346. This includes both the general fund appropriation for arts and culture as well as the convention center's $125,000. And we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Can you go back to this slide? I don't see the Herberger.
So these are the organizations that perform at the Herberger and at Symphony Hall and Orpheum.
So we provide grants to those that perform at our facilities.
Right, and these are
That's
restricted.
how I'm interpreting.
Yes, Madam Chair, and these are restricted grant funds that are used to pay the fees for the rental costs for performances.
Okay, so we pay the fees for them to rent our facility.
Right, correct, Madam Chair. It's a grant to them to underwrite the costs of rental for performances.
Okay. Second question is, can you go to the youth one?
Mm-hmm.
Or in general, do we have a category for startup local community groups? And I don't know where it lands in there, but what I mean by that, they're not necessarily established local arts groups, but they're new and up and coming. I look at them as startups, hitting a need within the community that other established areas have not engaged in. So I don't know where that lands and who are those.
Yes, Madam Chair, that's a wonderful question. We do, but it's a different grant program. We receive funding from the National Endowment for the Arts, $30,000 for the last several years, for a neighborhood arts grants program. And that's specifically to do what you've described, is to help fund small startup organizations in collaboration with neighborhood associations, with local artists, to do small projects in those neighborhoods. So we just ran a process to approve those allocations. Those are approved by the commission, and we can provide a report on that to you next week. That's in the works.
And Madam Chair, I would just ask that we also allow for fiscal agent use within this grants program. So those small emerging organizations that don't have their 501c3 can partner with a larger organization that has their nonprofit status in order to apply. We also have offered a Savvy program, which is providing some technical assistance training to artists and to new and emerging arts organizations.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No?
Yes, I've been on this committee for about 8 years now, and each time I always ask about local artists, local performing groups, and more diversity. So the diversity aspect of it seems like you're doing a pretty good job, but I still see that there needs to be a little bit more outreach. I'm not sure why there's all kinds of groups out there. I'm not sure if they're informed, so I'm not sure how the outreach is happening. I know that we're going to the community centers and schools and out in the community, but I believe that we need to figure out a way to actually touch, especially those grassroots arts community. A lot of the schools, the first funding to be cut is the arts, and especially performing arts. And how do we go out there and look for those groups that are kind of picking up the ball where our public schools are kind of dropping it? And I like to really, in the future, Madam Chair, to maybe have all of us sit together and kind of look at one time it was all the programs were like in the central Phoenix. Now we did a pretty good job in spreading it out. I'm just wondering, how can we fine tune it? I'm not sure, maybe we can have a work study, or maybe just the three of us and the Arts Commission kind of sit down and have a brainstorming session to kind of figure out how to reach those up and coming groups that are trying to touch those individuals that would never have an opportunity to engage in art. I believe that if we can help those groups, that up and coming groups, touch those young people that really never thought about playing a violin or picking up a guitar or a paintbrush or even mold a statue. So that I think that's what I'd like to see, more of this funding. The other thing too is that when I go on vacation, like I went to Chicago and Millennium Park, every other weekend there's a different cultural festival going on. So, from a German fest, Greek fest, and so how do we use our resources as City of Phoenix to create, if it's at Margaret Hans Park or wherever it is, that there's something always happening at least once a month or every other weekend that people know just to come down to that certain area, and that you'll have some type of a cultural event going on where you can experience the food and clothing and arts and all that. So that's really what I like to see maybe in the future, if we could sit down and really talk about that and taking it to the next level and making the city of Phoenix, we start acting like the 5th largest city, and we start having events and cultural events too, and tying up with the baseball and even with our Suns players, and maybe using their ethnicity to kind of help us kind of be the spokespersons for that too. Sorry about that.
Madam Chair, Councilor Nowakowski, I just wanted to respond quickly. These are both really important comments you just raised. On the second item about parks and activating parks, the grant I just referred to, the National Endowment for the Arts grants, our third-year funding, which is $50,000, not $30,000, I'm pleased to report, is for activation of city parks. So we'll be working very closely with the Parks Department to identify community organizations and projects near to parks. So I'm excited to be able to bring that forward to you. And then I would very much welcome this conversation about community outreach. This is something we're very concerned with. The Commission is very concerned with. I think it would be tremendous. There's someone on our staff, Estrella Payton, who's in charge of community engagement, and this is largely one of her jobs, is to figure out who's out there that we haven't yet touched with this grants program. So we're excited to have that conversation with you.
I have some questions on Access 1 and Access 2, or A+ Access or something. Is this programming that the money's going to, or? And then what type of programming?
Well, these are our operating support categories. The Access 1 and Access 2 are operating support. So it's unrestricted funding to support the administrative costs connected to the programming and to the operations.
Unlike Collaborative Communities, which is for project-specific work.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
So, Madam Chair, Collaborative Communities is project-specific. And so those are project specific. They are restricted to the project that was identified in the application.
Okay. I guess I'm following up on the question I asked earlier. We rely on a grant, which sounds like it's $30,000, then becomes $50,000 in the third year. But we rely on a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts to do local startup or engagement. I think it's engagement, emerging artists, and it's only $30,000. How much is that grant to each? Does it vary, or is it limited, or there's a max? And go ahead.
Madam Chair, those grants are $3,500 grants normally, and it's scaled based on how they rank in the application process. But I would say that grant program is a way to extend our budget. Our budget is been growing, and we're grateful for that. But there is still a lot of need out there that we're only able to accommodate kind of as you see it. So that's why we seek additional grant funding. However, I would also like to add that our commission, our grants committee, and our staff are looking closely at our policies and the way that we apply this funding across our organizations. And so we're continuing to think about what is the best way to reach organizations we haven't yet reached. So you'll be seeing more about that in the future.
Okay, is there a motion?
I will move that we approve the funding allocation, a total of $900,000 plus.
I'll second it.
There's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I have one comment. I'm sorry, because I totally went over my head about the comment about the study session.
Right.
I think that's an excellent idea. The dynamic is, I don't know who's going to be sitting here as chair and what our committees are going to look like. So that will be determined, I guess, in September. Yeah. I mean, we could get one up. That means we would just work over the summer. or work our schedules, but we could get one up quickly. But July 6th is around the corner, so all depends on what everybody wants to do. So let me know.
All right.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Item 11, this is definition of community centers. Councilman Nowakowski, you had asked for this.
So maybe, Alan, if you can give me the definition, what that is.
Sure. Madam Chair, Councilman Nowakowski, we have a quick presentation to go through. You want to do that? And I do have with me Ms. Trish Gomes, who's the zoning administrator within the Planning and Development Department and has oversight of the medical marijuana regulations within the department. So in 2010, City Council adopted a zoning ordinance that prohibited medical marijuana uses within 1,320 feet of a public community center. Council did not impose any spacing requirements specifically for libraries. We have some maps that were shown in 2010 as part of that discussion. What you have to do when adopting regulations for spacing requirements, as in anything that the mayor and council do, there has to be some kind of definition, and it has to be, in the case of a regulation, something that you can map, because we have to be able to tell when there's a spacing requirement where those things are located so that we can tell an applicant, here's what you have to be apart from. So as part of our medical marijuana regulations, we have a very robust spacing requirement for that. And so we'll show some maps that were shown to the public and the mayor and council in 2010 when we adopted that definition. But first I want to talk a little bit about accessory use as well. And the way the zoning ordinance works is you have a primary use of your building and land, and then you have accessory uses, which are subordinate use of the building structure or use of land. And so when you talk about libraries, libraries have accessory uses that are similar to a public community center. They have a community room that you can, rent at in a lot of those cases, but they don't have, their primary function is not a community center. So when we adopted those regulations of that quarter mile, we knew where all the community centers were, because they are part of the parks, they're city-operated facilities. And in the libraries, we did not add any spacing requirement for those. Libraries are principally a place where you access information that's contained in books, periodicals. Now more and more people are going to online research, as you all know, where people can go there and use computers for free. But it's really about dissemination of the written word and those things in various formats. That's the primary function of a library. An accessory function would really be, the community rooms and other things that they do. Just as a high school has an auditorium, it has a library associated with it, it's still the primary function is a high school. It's not a sports venue, even though it may have a Friday night football game, or it's not a library. It is a school and has those accessory functions, and that same thing holds true. So the spacing requirements apply from the primary use of the building. So Trish is going to walk us through a couple of the maps here and kind of show this is what the public was shown in 2010 as part of the council adoption process.
Thank you, Alan, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. So yes, these are some of the district maps that were shown as a part of the 2010 ordinance adoption as part of the public process. So as you see in the red, that was all the prohibited areas, primarily residential, that were not a part of the spacing. The yellow areas are the different zoning districts. So the yellow is C3, the pink, which is hard to see, is C2, blue is A1, the brown is A2, and then there's green, which is really not easy to see on this map, is the S1 and S2. But we put in all the different zoning categories and put all the different spacing requirements so that we could analyze what those spacing requirements, what land would be left, because as a part of the state statute, we had to adopt reasonable zoning regulations. So just showing the different areas within the districts, but as Alan said, primarily there's a lot of prohibited areas because of our spacing requirements. And as part of the 2016 adoption, as we increased some of those spacing requirements in the increase the residential district from 250 to 500, places of worship from 500 feet to a quarter mile, the 1,320, and then added spacing for childcare, homeless shelters, and youth community centers to 1,320, which obviously shrinks those areas even more. And then lastly, so I will give it to Alan to wrap it up.
So this map, again, you see the whiter areas are a lot of county islands down in that particular area back in 2010, some of which is now filled in. But you see that in the areas where you have a lot more industrial, A1, A2, that shows up much more in District 7, versus some of the other parts of the city. And then you can see that doesn't have as much red in this compared to other parts of the city. That really is a function of that industrial zoning, because there's a predominance of C2 and C2 really around the whole city for dispensaries, but the cultivation and infusion facilities are more of our industrial areas, which are here and also along the airport. Deer Valley Airport has a number of industrial activities up there. There's that little bit in District 3 that you saw, kind of east of Metro Center in that area.
What's the line south where it starts with the blue? Because that's the industrial, right?
The line, you mean this kind of here?
Yeah. Where are you?
Oh, yes. This line here?
Yes.
Okay.
What street is that?
That's Broadway Road
And then it goes all the way up to
Van Buren.
Oh, okay. And then
Maybe all the way up to the freeway.
the avenues.
Yeah, that's all.
What, 35th or?
Yeah, it's going all the way over, from kind of 35th Avenue all the way west. It's kind of that I-10 freeway corridor industrial on the north and south side right there. And then it would be in this area up
right
here. This is
there.
Grand Avenue coming up across in this area right here going. And so that's your other, kind of industrial area here, where you have some, Madam Chair, in your district that's over here on
Right.
Grand Avenue as well.
I'm trying to figure it all out because I'm trying to visualize District 7's where that industrial pocket is. So it's right in the center between, I say 35th Avenue, Broadway, all the way up.
Yeah, I would say all the way up to that.
Capitol and all those pieces.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then it blends into some of the Grand Avenue
Grand
area
Avenue
as you're
right
further
there, right,
east, and so
right.
that blends in that area kind of going up, where the industrial area in Councilman Nowakowski's district gets a little bit smaller as you go west, but still a very large area. It just doesn't, because Grand Avenue's further away there's a bunch of residential in between.
Okay, got it.
So the definition of a community center really is a building that's owned by the city, it's open to the public, it's used principally for a place for meetings, recreation, or other. Where a library, the primary use is dissemination of as Ms. Gomes mentioned, when we did the update in 2016, there was a significant discussion about with the council. We added a whole new category of the youth community centers, the homeless shelters, other things that we wanted spacing requirements from as part of that, in addition to increasing from like the residential from 250 to 500 and the quarter mile for churches. So we did have a good discussion then and had similar maps, and at that point we weren't talking at all about libraries. And so it's really the function of the definition and the mapping component that was showed to the public that set the basis for the regulations for spacing of medical marijuana. One of the things that the council could direct staff to do if they're inclined is to do a text amendment to the zoning ordinance to add a spacing requirement from libraries. We then have to just go back and map that and show you, where that spacing requirement would be from those, and that would only impact future ones. It doesn't impact any of the existing ones that are out there, were already approved today, and maybe even not yet open, but might be approved and in the process. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
So, Madam Chair, I was actually on that subcommittee. It was Bill Gates that was kind of leading the charge We were getting all kinds of calls from the YMCA's, Boys and Girls Club, and other community centers throughout the city saying, time out, you guys haven't took us into consideration. So we brought that back, and I thought the whole purpose was to actually protect children. Any spaces where children would gather from schools and also community centers. So myself, I was under the impression that any facility that we own where there was massive young people, teenagers, children gathering, that would be considered a community space. It was to my surprise that libraries weren't included. So I'm not sure who did that interpretation. I guess it was a legal interpretation, but I pulled records out, and basically our libraries, I mean, we have College Depot, which isn't used for just reading alone, but it's also used for high school students to look into a career or scholarships in college. We're spending about $1.5 million in that. So I don't think it's a rental. I think it's a permanent fixture in our library. And we started off with a pilot program. Now it's spreading out throughout all the libraries. The other thing is Code Phoenix. We're pushing that really big. And we started off with Burton Bar once again, and now it's spreading out throughout all of our libraries. So what I'm afraid of is that our libraries, that I've always said that they're more than just reading books. It's a community center. It's a place where people come together. Children, we have children areas now. We have Teen Central. I mean, we spend a good chunk of money on that Teen Central, and the list just goes on and on. We have Friends of the Library and Season for Sharing. They give us grants for our summer reading programs. So we have a lot of different programs that we as the city of Phoenix are trying to attract children and young people to. And I don't think it's appropriate to have right outside the parking lot a dispensary where you have young people that can be accessed to individuals purchasing marijuana. I'm not going to fight the law about having dispensaries or not, but I think where we place them, we as this body, we have a choice of saying there's certain areas in our community, and it's not right to place it in front of community spaces that we own, that our children are entering on a daily basis, not just to read, as you stated, but I just gave you a list of millions of dollars that we're spending on different programs, workforce development, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. So I want to make sure that I have 6 children, that I feel comfortable dropping off my kids at a library, not worrying that there's a dispensary in the back parking lot or in the front parking lot to that facility. I think we need to make sure that I call it a community center library, that it's a place where people feel safe to drop off young ones. And I believe that the reason myself, Bill Gates, I think it was Jim Waring on that subcommittee, I think it was Thelda Williams, Mayor Thelda Williams, we were really trying to protect children. And once again, libraries is a place for children to go study. A library is also a place for workforce development. Library is a place where they come and they use the computers that low-income area kids can't use computers because they don't have them in their household. So it really disturbs me that the interpretation from this body was interpreted that libraries was a community space. And that's where I think we need to fix it as soon as possible, because I'm just afraid that in the future, a lot of our libraries are right in front of malls or in parking lots of malls. I can picture the old Christown Mall where I used to go, that library. That can have a dispensary in the parking lot in that Spectrum Christian Mall, Spectrum Mall, right? So I think there's a mistake or an interpretation, and I think we need to fix it before this becomes a trend.
So what it sounds like, would you like to direct staff? Would you like to?
To amend.
To draft a text amendment?
Madam Chair, this is an item for information and discussion today.
I think it's possible action.
It's not agendized for action today.
Oh, no, we have to direct you.
Yeah, I think separately from this,
Yes.
if that's the
Yes,
druthers
yes.
of the
I'm
subcommittee,
sorry.
I will
Yeah,
talk
I
to
think I
the
was
others
right on the
and,
right course. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I was totally, so I think you need to direct
Yeah.
the staff.
So Madam
and that
Chair, I'd
way-
like to direct staff to look into amending the requirements of,
To adding space.
space requirements for libraries.
we'll look into that and we'll come back with we'll start the process and come back with a report, after your break.
Now, Alan, I mean, we were thinking any space that we own as a city, I mean, we have senior centers, we have youth centers. I think the youth centers are qualified under that, right? How about our senior centers and stuff? We just had a senior here today saying that they didn't like cigarette smoking outside the door. Can you imagine a dispensary right next door where the breeze is coming by? What kind of complaints we're going to get about that, right?
Madam Chair, Councilman Olkowski, we'll look at all of those ones. What we'll have to do so that the subcommittee understands, clearly is in your particular district, you have much more industrial area, and so you have the propensity to have more of these type of activities. But if you look at other council districts, like District 6 and other areas, the more spacing requirements we add, you take away what little bit of areas that you have that you can locate those. And we can't use our zoning authority to preempt the state statute that says you have to allow those in your jurisdiction. And so that's what we'd have to look at. We can certainly put together the maps and come back around and talk to you.
Right.
But I just want you to fully understand that we do have to allow some areas for them to be located in the community.
I understand that. I'm not
map
trying
it
to
all
put
up.
out the dispensaries. I'm just trying to make sure that our children are safe and parents feel safe in dropping off children at our facilities. If it's a library, a senior center, a community center, or whatever it is, that people should feel that their kids are safe and that right next door you don't have a different type of activity that they don't approve of, right?
Yep, we understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I believe it's the Parks Board agenda.
Madam Chair, I have a potential conflict on
Okay,
this.
I'll
I'm
see
right
you.
back. I'll stay in the room so there's a quorum.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, tomorrow will be the Parks and Recreation board meeting. This is the agenda that we have for tomorrow. We're going to give a summer program update. Since we gave it to you all, we're going to give it to them as well. And again, those are some nice pictures from summertime activities. Expansion of Encanto Palmcroft Historic District Overlay. This is something that there's two portions of the park that don't have the city designation. It's the Encanto B, which is the sports complex, and the area west of 15th Avenue. So this is going to come for consideration to the council further, but we're giving information to the Parks and Recreation Board. Code of Conduct, we're meeting throughout the summer, starting in August, to talk with the community about what they want to see in a code of conduct. And so we're hoping to have something established in September, October, so that we can really have park amenities being used for the intended purpose for which they were designed. And that's just an information and discussion item because it'll come back later to them for a final policy. Margaret T. Hance, we're going to give them the information about moving forward since there was approval by the full council last Wednesday. Now we can start the process for 30, 60, and 90% plans to be for construction, but also the firehouse, which is a key element to then getting an RFP to get a restaurant in that firehouse. And these are some of the pictures that you've seen over the last several months. Modification of Roosevelt Park hours. This is a policy. The Community Roosevelt Action Association has asked us to consider having the hours be 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night to kind of combat some of the negative activity that's happening in the park. The rangers have helped tremendously, but they think if we can modify the hours a little bit, that'll help as well. And this is a small park right close to Hance Park. And then the last thing that I won't spend any time on, this is the South Mountain Tower license.
Can you go back to the hours? Yes. There's a big discussion within the community about our parks and a number of items happening within our parks. In particular, Solano Park. So I don't know, I guess we'll see as we move forward, but I'm anticipating that community is gonna start asking to modify hours because of the activity. I don't know exactly if that's the right answer. So I just want to put that on the radar because I'm sure you're having the same conversation.
Yes. Actually, yesterday we did some enforcement type activities in Solano Park, and we actually arrested 16 people.
Yeah.
Again, we're working with the police, with the Phoenix Cares program. Park rangers have really been able to help us with some of that. There is a big concern. Several parks are hot spots for us, and those are the ones we focus on. We have 182 parks throughout the system, and not all the parks have those kinds of situations. And so I think that's why we have about 5 parks in the system that have different hours right now than the general standard hours. And the majority of them have been related to schools and them wanting to have control while the kids are supposed to be in school. And so I think we've addressed it on a case-by-case basis, but you're right, it may become a bigger conversation for the future. But I think the code of conduct will help us with some of those things.
And then can you move to Margaret Hance Park? The other conversation on Margaret Hance Park, and I don't know how to, this is where you could help me get information out. On a lot of the social media, other people that are not associated with Margaret Hance Parks but are associated with other bigger parks are having issues regarding the amount of money and dedication that we are putting into Margaret Hance Park when other parks are in need. So I don't know what that messaging looks like. I don't know what that dynamic, but it is popping up all over social media. I think we are going to have to address it. We can't ignore it. And I think that's probably another bigger dialogue within the parks community and the neighborhoods to have.
Yeah, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, indeed, I think there are a few parks where they've expressed also some interest in maybe finding a public-private partnership situation, and so we can certainly have those conversations. We have some parks that are larger parks that don't have amenities that are in the southeast or southwest portion of the city that's going to be getting some money in the future years. So I think we have that ability to have that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
So Madam Chair, I have a conflict on the South Mountain Towers, but I don't have a conflict on the on Margaret Hance or on the Roosevelt Park. On the Roosevelt Park, a situation happened where the I-10 actually came down through central Phoenix. So now we ended up with the beautiful park, which is Margaret Hance. So there's individuals that are saying that, is there a need for this little pocket park anymore? So that's one of the things that we're looking into right now, is meeting with the community, trying to figure out if there's a need for it, because now we have a dog park and we have all kinds of amenities that wasn't there years ago. So that's, I think with the Roosevelt, they're just trying to find a temporary solution, and the hours were the ones that look most likely. And the messaging for Margaret Hance is that basically we lost that Block 23 for our major events and trying to attract the Super Bowls and all those major events back to Phoenix, that Margaret Hance became the destination point that was in downtown Phoenix to actually do those events besides Indian School Park. So that's basically where the talk started, and creating an amphitheater where we can actually have big events like that and not lose the bids in the future. And I think from there, it just, the neighborhood came along and said, we want to create a bigger, a master plan for the whole park, not just for the east end of the park. And I think the messaging, we maybe have to get that out better.
And at any time, we're willing to meet with any community group if there's some improvements they want to see, and see how we can do it either together or with private donations.
Well, thank you, Inger. That was only for information and discussion. It's now called to the public. I don't have any cards. Future agenda items, we'll see what that goes to the new committee persons. And the meeting is adjourned. Enjoyed my ride. Thank you.